Live-tastic. How are you all? Hope you're doing marvelously well. Here we are, where it's Saturday morning. It's just after 11. It's 11:06 PST, Pacific Standard Time. Hope you're all doing marvelously well. Thank you as ever. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Eric is first on YouTube there. So Aaron over here. How are you? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing marvelously well. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in sunny Los Angeles. As you can tell from this strange accent, I'm definitely not born and bred. Hello there in Israel. Hello all over the world. This is fantastic. As you can tell, I'm not born and bred Los Angelian. Hello in Chile. I am from a little place called Crookham Village in Hampshire, and the nearest town is Fleet. And hello in Serbia. Hello in Liverpool. Good morning. Hello everybody. This is absolutely fantastic. Finland, India. Wow, this is absolutely amazing. Please like and share. If you could like it, so hit the like button and share the video, and then people will know hello in Chicago. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to be able to help. People are saying such wonderful things about helping. Cheers from Napa, Poland, Florida, Uruguay, Rotterdam, Norway. Oh, this is absolutely amazing. France. Wow, people are saying they're currently tracking guitars. Well, here I am holding. They don't give me money to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I had this discussion on Instagram Live yesterday. So yesterday, I drove to Bob Marlette's studio. And hello, everybody all over the world. This is amazing. So yesterday, I drove to Bob Marlette's studio to do a Q&A for our Academy members, you know, the Produce Like a Pro Academy. It was a lot of fun. We did an hour over there, and he talked so much about, I don't know, production, mixing. It was probably the best ever Q&A I've done, to be quite frank, with a producer. Hello in North Carolina. Hello everybody all over the world. This is amazing. Germany, everywhere. So I'm doing this incredible Q&A with Bob Marlette, and on the way back, people are asking me about gear. And as you can see, I have a lot of equipment. I've got, just hiding down there, an SSL console. Over here, I've got Pultex and Crown mic pre's and Neves and BAE and API and of course Phoenix, all these wonderful companies. And people started asking me obvious questions because I use a lot of equipment and I do a lot of studio tours and I have a lot of friends. Hello in Nashville, hello in Chicago, Philippines. And so people are starting to ask me questions about gear. I mean, there's gear questions coming in now. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I realized something as we were talking. And I'm sure you understand. And in Los Angeles and Athens. Athens, hello. So I realized something is like, everybody has an opinion on gear, but I realize I only have opinions, and I can only have opinions on gear I've used. It seems to me strange when I go onto some of these big forums that there's guys and girls in there, guys predominantly, quite frankly, that have an opinion on everything ever made. And I've been doing this for about 30 years. And I've worked in every major studio I can think of, from Abbey Road to Olympic, when it was still around, to Maida Vale, to Metropolis in London, you know, either as a musician or a producer or as an engineer, mainly when I was in England as a musician. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I came over as a musician about 20 years ago, you know, in a band. And I worked with Don Smith, and he had a Neve console, and he had all the equipment that you could love, like amazing gear. And then, of course, I recreated my own studio here. And in those days, in the mid-90s, it was all ADATs. The studios that I had in England that were my own had 1-inch 24-track machines, had 4 tracks, had 8-track, you know, E8s, Fostexes, Tascams, all of that kind of great stuff. And I've had so much gear, and it's been amazing. So I have very strong opinions about things I've used, but I realize even though I work every day in different studios and my studio, I don't have an opinion on everything. But it does seem that there are people that have opinions on everything. So draw from that your own conclusions. My point is like, I have found, because I'm entirely self-made, I'm not saying that as a boast, it just is true. I come from a very, my brother's watching this who might be upset, but I come from a fairly poor family. We just grew up in a really nice area, so I have a nice accent. But my dad was a painter, or he is a painter, he's an artist. And if any of you that are in arts, like musicians, will know, that's kind of feast or famine, You're either paying the bills or you're not paying the bills. And we grew up in this little 654 square foot place, and there was 5 of us, and there was only 2 bedrooms. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, my life was so hard. It wasn't. It was beautiful because it was arts-based and wonderful. But why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because I always had to find equipment that did the best bang for the buck. Hello there in Russia. Hello in Saudi Arabia. Hello in Sherman Oaks, Zach. Two people in Sherman Oaks. Hello in Madrid. So my point is like, I feel a responsibility. I feel a huge responsibility because you as an audience are absolutely incredible. Hello there in Bolivia. So I feel really, really responsible that when I give an opinion on a piece of equipment, not only does it have to be really good, it has to be very affordable. Because I grew up, like a lot of you watching here, with no budget to buy expensive equipment. So it's really important to me. Somebody's talking about Yamaha acoustics. That's another discussion. It's really important that I recommend equipment when you ask me that number one, I've used. I have to have used it. I can't have an opinion on something just because I read it in a forum. That is very, very important. I was over at, I can't remember his name, but I was over at Echo Bar Studios with Bob and I'm really sorry, I can't remember the engineer's name. But we were talking about equipment and we were talking about opinions on equipment. And he said to me that he was a member of like one of those like classic car clubs. And he said inside of the forum, there's this one guy who's an expert on everything. He's an expert on every engine made, every valve cylinder, every exhaust, every steering wheel, everything you can imagine. And this guy has an opinion on everything. So they had a big meet. They had a big meeting, and all of the members of the club brought their cars down, and this guy comes walking up. So they're all excited. They're like, oh, you're John. You're the guy that knows everything about this car. They're like, where's your car? And he goes, oh, I don't own one. I mean, think about that for a second. I think we live in a world where everybody has an opinion on a piece of equipment because I get tons of emails every day about asking me about equipment. I try my damnedest, as you know, to go through all of the YouTube videos and try and scan and help people out because I feel a huge responsibility. I cannot get a $10,000 power cable or a microphone that doesn't sound very good and say it's amazing, or speakers that aren't good but they're really expensive and I'm being sponsored or paid, or have banner ads, or have at the front of my videos. I can't do that because as much as I want to make a living from this, and as you know, the people that follow me, I've only recently, in a month ago, 6 weeks ago, actually started putting ads on my videos. So for the first 2.5 years of me doing videos, I didn't even put ads on there because I felt like that was annoying to me. But I want to make some money back out of doing this because obviously I spend a lot of time in it. So for me, it's like, why do I talk about the equipment I talk about? And why do I feel a responsibility? Well, I feel a responsibility because I grew up struggling to make enough money to buy equipment. So if I give you an opinion, it has to be something I've used, something I think is exceptional, exceptional not only in quality but in value for money. Has to be both. Has to be something I've used, and that combination of something that is not only amazing but is amazing for the price. Because otherwise, it's like spend $10,000 on anything, or 15, and then you get something great. So what does that mean? It means that my branding is all over the place. It means that I have things like when people ask me about microphones, well, you know what? I've recently used the NT1. It is a great vocal mic. The Rode NT1 is a great vocal mic. It is a game changer. Was the first mic that came out and helped people make music at a budget. There was nothing as good as it when it first came out. I've recently, over the last few months, been using Roswell microphones. The Mini K47 is like $300. It is amazing for the price. The Lewitt range of microphones, the LCTs, I use every single day. To me, they sound like AKGs, but they're half the price. And I've had them now for 2 to 3 years, and none of them have broken down. So when people say, why do you recommend those mics? Well, because they're on, over here, on my equipment, plugged in, on things, being worked. The Delphos is over there. The Roswell mic is being used as we speak. Well, so it's on a piano, but it's not actually, there was no piano being played. The point is like, I can recommend equipment that I use. I use expensive equipment. I also use Audient stuff. Audient make very affordable little IOs, and their mic pre's that they build into them sound really, really good. So when people ask me about stuff like that, I always recommend Audient. It doesn't mean that I don't like other ones. It doesn't mean that I don't like other companies. Of course I do. I just don't have personal experience with them yet. So I can't recommend a product that I have not used, and I will not talk badly about a product. You'll never hear me talk badly about a product unless I've used it. I'm not going to go onto a forum and go, Audient are amazing and everybody else sucks, because that isn't true. But I can say that Audient make really good IOs that have really good mic pre's. So that to me is an honest recommendation. Hey, so everybody watching, I see on YouTube there's 169 people watching. Can you please like and share? That would be amazing. Thank you. I'm glad that you appreciate the honesty. For me, it's really important for us to do that. Somebody's saying they're stuck with audio interfaces. Now, I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. So please like and share. There's lots of people watching. I'd really appreciate it if you like and share. Thank you, and I appreciate it in France there. Crazy discussion arguing which Pultec plugin, and yeah, like Toby's saying, everybody's arguing about Pultec plugins, and yet nobody's actually used a Pultec. I have 6 Pultecs, and we did a quick shootout between plugins manufacturers, Pultec, and my real ones. And I left people to understand what they prefer, but most people prefer the real ones when they download and they listen to the audio. When you listen to the audio, they choose it. Does it mean the plugin is bad? Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. But does it mean it sounds exactly the same as a real one in my chain? It didn't. But it's one of those discussions. Something being exact replica doesn't necessarily mean it's as good. It just means it's not an exact replica. Okay, so let's move on. We did microphones. We'll keep going on microphones for a second. I stand behind the VMS. I think the Stephen Slate VMS is a wonderful piece of equipment. I saw another channel a couple of years ago trash talk it before it came out. And the guy's words in the comments were, it is not possible this will sound good. Really? Just going to pause for dramatic effect. Jum, 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 jum. This guy has a relatively popular channel, and he goes, they asked him, what do you think about the idea of virtual microphones? And he responded, there is no way possible it can sound good. And he calls himself a professional. The problem is like, I'm not trying to bash him. I don't care. And I'm not going to mention him by name. It's not important. But that kind of thinking, as we all know, is, can we find the word? What kind of thinking is that when you've never heard anything and it isn't even out yet and nobody else has heard it and you dismiss it? What would you call that? I would call that stupid. I think that would be the politest word I could use. And that is not fair. And as you can see, I've talked about Lewitt, I've talked about Roswell, I've talked about Rode, and I'm talking about the VMS. And that's not to say there aren't another amazing microphones. Audio-Technica have blown me away over the years. Those are also wonderful microphones. Audio-Technica, I think I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. I don't remember which model it was the mid-price $600-700 microphone. I used it on a kick drum instead of a FET 47 because the FET 47 was having issues, and when it finally got repaired, I could choose between the bass amp or the FET 47 when I was tracking the second Frey record. So I moved it off the kick drum and put it on the bass amp, which is wonderful. So I put it on the bass amp. So, oh dear, now I've got nothing on the kick. So I put the Audio-Technica, the $600 Audio-Technica up, and geez, it was wonderful. It was amazing on the kick drum. It sounded so good. I was like, this is incredible. It was so, so good. Yeah, $700 is still high end, but bear in mind, I agree. It was probably a 4033, something like that. But the point is like, bear in mind, it was replacing a $5,000 or $10,000 microphone, and it was sounding better. Hello in Windsor, home of Glenn. So you get my point. It was replacing a $5,000, $10,000 vintage FET 47. So that's my point. It's not always about the money. Now, I can go on to one of those big forums and they will debate me and tell me it's wrong. What microphone do I recommend for recording bass? I use a bit of everything. I use a Sontronics Delta sometimes. I use an LCT 550 sometimes. I use, what's on it at the moment? There's a Sontronics is on it at the moment. It's the bass Sontronics one. Do you guys know what that is? Can somebody help us out without me walking into the studio and figuring it out? So it's the Sontronics one. It's the one that's like a cylinder like this, and I use it either on kick or on bass guitar, and it's on bass guitar. But I also use the LCT 550 quite often. It depends on how loud I'm tracking. And I think that's a relatively... no, it's not the ribbon, it's the other one. But thank you for... now, and Jason's saying it's always about what you do with the gear rather than the gear itself. Well, exactly. But the reason why I was using that example of the microphone is like I was doing a swap out. So it was not about the mic pre, it wasn't about the compression or the EQ, because there was nothing engaged. It was just a mic on an outside kick. And it was a mid-level $600-700 Audio-Technica replacing a $5,000 or $10,000 vintage Neumann, and it sounded better. Now don't get me wrong, the Neumann sounded really good on the bass amp as well. But that's the point. There's nothing wrong with Neumanns. That's not my point. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not trashing the Neumann. The Neumann's a wonderful microphone. But it just proves what we all know in our hearts, that there's so much wonderful equipment out there at so much affordability. And that is what's going to help us, because a lot of people, as you know, get hindered. They get hindered because they go to big forums and they read these forums and somebody asks about a microphone, and before you know it, 5 pages in, it's the worst thing ever made because it's not a vintage blah blah blah. And that is a big problem, because our responsibility, and that's everybody on here, because you guys are wonderful, you guys and girls are wonderful, is we have a community here. We have a wonderful community. Yeah, the DM1B. Thank you. It's the DM1B. How much is the DM1B? Sontronics DM1B. That's what I have on my bass. Thank you. Yeah, the SE mics are great as well. I haven't done the MXL upgrade, but if you go to Recording Hacks and you read anything with Matt McGlynn, I am a huge fan. We have to do another discussion. Oh, I love the LCT 340. The 184 has never been a favorite mic of mine. I don't want to sound like a snob, because this is snobby what I'm about to say, but I have a KM56, which I think is arguably one of the greatest small diaphragm condensers ever made. Anybody that has the privilege of owning a KM53, 54, or 56 will tell you it is amazing sounding. Especially on things like violins and mandolins, it just makes them sound amazing. It's got some really beautiful low detail as well as high detail that just makes those smaller bodied instruments sound huge. A KM184 does not sound that good. Even though it's sort of a replacement for an original KM53, 54, 56, it's not anywhere near as good. It's not a bad microphone, but don't get me wrong, an LCT 340 for a fraction of the price sounds amazing. And that's what I'm about. to me, it's like, let's look after each other. Let's give each other really good sound advice. People are talking about CAD microphones. They make amazing microphones. It's a crowded space out there. There's a lot of really good stuff. I used the CAD. We used a pair of CADs for room mics on the last Aerosmith record, and they sounded fantastic. So it's about €400 for the DM1B. Hello in Massachusetts. LCT 640. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. What's my favorite super cheap mic? Well, it depends on what you mean by super cheap. Because if you're talking like $100, then I would just buy like a used SM57. And there you go, you see. It's like, hello in Latvia. There you go. It's not... we are going to do a Platt meetup. We're going to do one in Nashville, which is going to be huge. And we're also going to do one... We're going to do one at NAMM. We just haven't figured out where yet. If you're asking about Aston microphones, are you a member of the Academy? How many Academy members are watching? I think Zach's an Academy member, Tommy's an Academy member. They all saw me do the shootout between a comparable price. Actually, it was a slightly more expensive, or whatever. It was a similar priced Lewitt versus the Aston. So they saw a completely unbiased one. I don't like to do shootouts mic for mic when they're in the same price range as much as doing the expensive versus the cheap, because what I want to prove for myself primarily and everybody else is that some of the cheaper microphones can do an amazing job. I think that's really important, isn't it? It's really important to help each other out and go, because like I was talking about earlier and I got a little waylaid myself, not your fault, is when I go to the forums and I read this kind of discussions about, you know, you can't use cheap microphones, you have to, you know, unless you do this, this and that, if you don't use the right, you know, there's whole pages devoted to mic pre's having slightly wrong transformers or the tube being slightly wrong. I mean, give me a frickin' break. I mean, that's not how you make music. And when I'm sitting in a room with the guys like Jack Douglas or Shelley Yakus or, you know, any of those guys that made the records that we really admire, and they hear these kind of discussions, they just roll their eyes because they never thought that way. They never thought that way. They do love different mics. They love stuff, but they love the experimentation. And they never thought about like the snobbery of like, it has to be a 1948 new Vista. It can't be a new Vista. It has to be a, you know, that kind of stuff never crossed their minds. And, you know, Steven, when I recorded Steven Tyler, he hadn't sung on 47s before. When he sang on my 48 and my 47, that was the first time. He'd always sung on 67s or C12s and things like that. And it's interesting because he sounded so good on a 47. So you'd be surprised. There's all kinds of baloney out there, you know, about what's right and what's wrong. Okay. So what do I love? Well, I love microphones. I love the audience stuff. I use it every day. I can stand behind it. It's really good. They're also a really good company to deal with. They've been very respectful. They've given us tons of equipment to try out. They've always left us with stuff so we can use it in our videos, which is really, really useful to us and helps the company out. So they don't have any almonds?
They're out.
No kind of breakfast stuff at all?
At all.
Oh, Eric came back with my coffee, but no breakfast stuff. Live on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. Eric and the hair. Come in. Show off Eric and the hair. Look at the hair today.
Wait.
Look at that. He spent some time on the hair this morning. Woohoo! Gary says sack him.
Oh, no.
Fire him. Hire me. Okay, so how is everybody this morning anyway? And great, all this conversation here. I'm really loving it. Yeah, somebody's talking about the Warm Audio 87. I haven't got to try it out yet. I really will. Yeah, I mean, Zach's saying it is subjective. It is definitely subjective, but there is also things that are honestly just objective. Like, you know, I think when you're getting into like really, really kind of finessing points, you can get really stupidly subjective. But I think there's just obvious, honest, like, does this do almost an equal job for a fraction of a cost? And these days, most equipment at a fraction of a cost of the expensive stuff comes so freaking close. The point is, 10 years ago and before, it didn't. Now it does. And that is the revolution that has happened. Technology has got so good that they can replicate stuff or they can make stuff which is amazing. When I was a kid, it was 4-track cassettes, and if you wanted to demo in a studio, even the local studios were unbelievably expensive. Big studios were thousands, and people with like 16-track or 24-track, half-inch or 1-inch places were not cheap. So it was like you did your demos on 4-track cassette, and when I started making records from my band, when I got my first record deal as a kid, I went from 4-track cassette to major studio. I didn't go anywhere in the middle. I didn't do any demoing in local studios because we didn't have enough money. Nowadays, anybody, which is so fantastic, anybody with a laptop and a decent 2 input can start making really good records. They just because the IOs are 100 times better than they were back in the old M-Box days. Now, I think you've heard me talk about this, so we'll talk about it again. That Barry Henderson over at, he's not there anymore, I think he sold the company, but over at Radar, came here to the studio and demoed the new Radar to us. And I got him in a big discussion about IOs and stuff like that. And he basically said this, and this, I know everybody knows this, is that everybody's using the same chip now. So now it's all just about the architecture around it. Is it like the Burl where it has transformers and it gives a warmer sound? Is it like inexpensive and a small little I/O? The point is like the level is so much better. When I started off on Pro Tools at home, I'm sure like many of us watching, I had a Digi 001. And I did get some really good results. I used to record with an SM57 at home and my little Digi 001 and my Pro Tools LE, and I got some really great results. But it got really, really amazing when I went up to 888s. Now, when you listen to 888s, they don't sound as good as HD. And when you listen to HD, it doesn't sound as good as HDX. And none of those sound as good as this one, or the Antelopes, or the Burls, or the Apogees. The point is like, you can see what I'm talking about, the hierarchy. You've got M-Box, Digi 001, and then you've got what we've got now. Now, all of the inexpensive stuff is about here, away from the super high end. So the bottom has moved up, the floor has come up. So now we have mic pre's and microphones and IOs, which maybe they're not quite as good as the 10 times the price, but they are this close now. This is a beautiful thing. This is a wonderful thing. It's such an amazing time to be making music because of it. And we're so blessed that manufacturers are able to make inexpensive stuff. Herbert over on Facebook says the SM7 always surprises me. We use SM7s everywhere, isn't it crazy? I'm 17, just got my first paying job as an engineer working my friend's band. We are using an affordable gear and getting amazing results simply because they're great musicians. There you go. I think you're proving the point. You've got great musicians with affordable equipment. The affordable equipment now is 10 times better than it ever used to be. And there you go. Obviously, a great musician will top, and a great song will blow any kind of equipment out of the water. We all know that. Okay, so we have a really great following of people watching. 217 people on YouTube here, and a whole bunch on Facebook. Would you please like and share? Please like and share. And somebody will say, I'm begging for likes. Well, I suppose I am. I'm asking for likes and shares, because if you like and share, it lets people know that we're online. So please like and share. I'd really appreciate it. So in about 26 minutes, I'm going to be talking to Glenn Fricker. He and I are doing some wonderful things. I've been working with a lot of great YouTube people. This is really blessed. So let's do a little talk about other stuff that I love. You know I love this. You know I love Yamaha acoustics. You know that this LL16 comes at what are they retailing at now? I think we looked it up, like $600 or $700. It's not retail, but that's what they're going for. It's solid top, and it's on so many records. My old late 70s, early 80s Yamaha is all over the last Aerosmith record. We had this thing where, and sorry, Joe, for me telling this, but so we're doing some acoustics with Joe Perry at Glenwood, and we had this massive collection available to us by a very famous movie star. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say who, but I'm sure you can figure it out if you're Joe Perry fans who that movie star is. And so we had this incredible collection of Martins and Gibsons and just like everything we could have wanted. It was so beautiful. And we ended up using my Yamaha on one of the songs. We did like 3 or 4 guitar takes on different songs just because it worked best for the arpeggios against $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 acoustics. So that's really where we're at. It's like, it's a beautiful thing. Remember when I did that Dave Pensado episode where he interviewed me on the channel a couple of years ago? He asked me if the studio was burning, what was the one piece of equipment I would bring with me? And I said my Yamaha acoustic. It's the first thing that came into me. It's this one over here. I've had it forever. It's not 70s, it's early 80s. It is an FG200. Last time I looked online, they were going for like $200 or $300. The 80s ones. So. Yeah, I've used Fender acoustics. Yeah, somebody says the old Yamaha acoustics sound honest. Fantastic. So this has got super old strings on it. I haven't changed the strings in a while. Those of you that are acoustic guitar players and guys that record a lot of acoustic guitars know that it's not always about having brand new strings on guitars. It is when you want super, super bright sounds. Thank you, Hotlicks. But when you're doing things like, you know, like a kind of... You know, that kind of... You might want it to have it a little tougher. You might not want that super brightness, you know what I mean? Room acoustics can be important if you're in a room which has very, very live acoustics. You know, there's a lot of talk about acoustics in general, and I think that, not acoustic guitars, but acoustics of rooms. If you can see up here in the corners... See there? There it is, up there. I've got like, you know, built-in bass traps. It's just very invisible. There's a lot of work done in the walls and stuff like that. I have talked about John Brandt. Those of you who know John Brandt. Glenn's not going to like it. I don't know. You know, Glenn and I don't always agree on everything when it comes to music, but we love the same bands. We're about the same age, give or take a year or two, and we grew up on the same music. We grew up on that late 70s, early 80s, British, American, and Canadian bands. And that's still my favorite period. And when you talk to guys like Tim Pierce and a lot of other guys, it's kind of a golden age for music. It's really good, really wonderful time. What are my thoughts on IK Multimedia T-Rex 5? I love T-Rex. I love it. I love IK Multimedia. I love what they do. Another company that's very generous with their time, with their products. They've been very, very good to us. We don't have to ask. You know, the thing about what I do, and if there's any companies watching, I'll give you a bit of an idea, and feel free to talk if you guys know companies. This is the way it is. In just over an hour, I'm going to go to Howie Weinberg's to master 3 Joe Perry songs with Jack Douglas. And I'm not trying to name drop. I'm just telling you how freaking crazy my life is. And this week, we recorded drums on it and mixed 3 songs. We worked with David from Workday Release. We went to Bob Marlette's and did a Q&A, and we did a whole bunch of things. We filmed a Feedback Friday. What the hell? Oh, I'm sweating. What the heck else did we do? We did a lot of stuff. And that is a normal week. And then I have an artist flying in to work with us. Caden Cashmere, for those of you who know who she is, Academy members have been mixing her songs. We have a lot of stuff going on. So when companies give us stuff to try out and they let us do it and they email us and they keep up with us and they're generous with us, they're understanding that we run a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and I do all the social media stuff, pretty much 99.9% of it on my own. So it's like, what can we say? You know, I'm doing all of this stuff on my own. So when, you know, I'm sitting there every day answering questions, playing guitar parts, recording things. You know, Eric's filming and he's sometimes doing some of the editing and somebody else is happening. And we're doing all of this stuff. And because what we are trying to do here, because we're not professional YouTubers. It's funny when somebody called me a YouTuber the other day. I was like, wow. I'm like, Eric, am I a YouTuber? Have I become a YouTuber? You know, we're about to do some Ace Frehley stuff. You know, we just did some Joe Perry stuff. We've got, we're talking about mixing the new Yardbirds record. So all this rock stuff. And we're doing young artists like Workday Release. Oh, and we just got a band that I work with signed to a major label. And I've been producing that album next year. Oh, and Christina Holmes is coming in to make a record next month. And I'm mixing an artist that follows us in the first week of January. And my point is like, I'm a professional producer, engineer, and mixer. And this here is me showing you what it's like to actually do this for a living. Not what it's like to be a professional teacher. I saw a huge gap in what we do. I'm not retired. You know, I'm not retired trying to show you what people that used to only work on major labels do. I'm not like, you know, bringing out like, there's a very famous mixer who a few weeks ago saw an interview, said he hadn't worked in 3 months, but he's doing tons of tutorials. The point is like, that's where we're at. It's like a lot of these guys, you know, they're very ivory towers with massive incomes and they're not working. We're working every day. So what we want to do here is show you what it's like to make music every day and what it's really like to be a professional engineer and mixer and stuff. Your friend Borza, does he work with Howie? Music isn't your hobby and YouTube is what pays the bills. Oh yeah, sure. I wish. Wouldn't that be great if YouTube pays the bills? I think with ads and stuff running, I think it almost pays a portion of Eric's salary. And Eric doesn't get paid very much. Eric works his butt off and all very well, so it pays a portion of his salary. That's how much the YouTube stuff comes in. Anyway, look, the point is like, we do this because this is the new music industry, and we're talking about how to do it. So what's above the Altec? Well, what's above the Altec is a Trident compressor, which actually belongs to Jack, and frankly, it's not very good. It's not a classic one. So. All right, Zach, I'll ask for Borza when I'm there. If you're in London, you would volunteer to help out. It would be wonderful. Look, so I'm going to try and take some comments. Now, this is what I was told is a really good idea. So give me a second. I'm going to try something here. Somebody said to me that a lot of YouTubers, when they have a lot of people asking questions, this isn't 70s, this is early 80s, it's like chip based. How do you get in touch? You can email me at warren@producelikeapro. You can email me at warren@producelikeapro. Thoughts on amp sims? I use them, I like them. I'm getting more and more into them. I think next year, are all my monitors active? Yes, they are. All of them are active. We have active Genelecs, we have the little iLouds, we have the big Genelecs 1032s, and we have the Unities, and they're all active. I personally think that's the way to go. Why do you ask? Well, because the power amps are now being designed specifically for the speakers and vice versa. I think that makes a lot of sense. We're clocking in different ways. We have a sync IO, we have a Lavery. The Lavery is honestly the best IO I've ever heard. It's not cheap. It's the old DB Technologies. It's the blue. And what was interesting when I had that meeting with Barry from Radar, he was very opinionated about everybody's IOs, everybody's. But when I said at Lavery, he was like, "Yeah, they're pretty amazing." So all I can say is like, we shot out when we were mixing the Aerosmith album a few years ago. We shot out all of the IOs because we wanted the best IO we could get, and the Lavery kept coming up sounding the best. So for mixing, for when I mix back to 2 tracks, I use the Lavery. Is it cheap? No, it's not cheap. A lot of mastering guys have Laveries. That's all I can say. Yes, that is a Studer A80, and yes, we do. Have I thought about changing to duality? Let's table that, and I'll talk about it in a second. Yes, that's a Studer A80. Why do I have that machine? That machine is on the late 70s, and most of the records that I love were made on that machine. Not that particular one, although I'm sure it made some great records, but a lot of my favorite sounding records were made on this Studer. So I have it specifically for that period and for that sound. You haven't? You say Atari. I think you mean an Otari. Oh yeah, you said afterwards. Yeah, I have an Otari as well at a different studio. I haven't fired it up in years. They said they tried the T-Rex 5. I like the T-Rex 5. I think it's pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm going to try and get to some questions here. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have you ever tried the Mindprint N-Voice preamps? I haven't. I do know people like it. Okay, opinion on duality. I had a big birthday party last year and a big NAMM party. I'm not going to do a big NAMM party this year. It's a lot of work and a lot of expense that none of us specifically have. But I met the SSL guys, and they said to me, "What is the one thing you want SSL to do?" And I said, "Remake the 4000 with today's technology." And they rolled their eyes and said, "That's what everybody asks me." I think what we want to do is we want to buy an affordable-ish, nothing's going to be cheap, but maybe a 70,000. That's not affordable. Don't get upset with me. But a console that's in that price range that has all of the same functionality as a 4000. The problem is with SSL stuff is I have to buy all these extra things to get it to do what my 4000 does. However, my 4000 is old and it is an electricity hog. So I'm waiting. I haven't quite figured it out. And I've spoken to Vintage King and poor old Jeff Ehrenberg. God bless him. Jeff Ehrenberg is a trooper. He's one of the best guys in music. He knows his schnizzle. Jeff Ehrenberg at VK. He'll hate it that I'm saying that because now everybody will only ask for him when they call over there. But he has spent so many hours with me. God bless you, Jeff. So many hours of me discussing different ways to improve and maybe get rid of my 4000. And we haven't yet figured it out. Yeah, I know there's the atomic, there's so many different things. We haven't yet figured out what that solution is. But if there was a solution where I could get this put in here and basically mirror what I was doing, then I would be great. Audience Audient. I love the Audient consoles. I love everything Audient. I love those people. The RedNet. Yeah, we did the shootout and we preferred the Lavery and we preferred staying with the Avids. TLA turns his console off every night. So do I. Earlier video, not master whilst mixing. Thank you very much. I'd love to do Spike Stent. I've worked with Michael Brown many, many times. I think he's wonderful. Any thoughts on Tannoy? Love Tannoy monitors. I think Behringer is an entry level, great. Rafa Sardina, that would be good. Behringer is a great company. They do wonderful things. Look, people love to trash companies like Behringer, but what are you going to do? You got a couple of $100? You want to start making music? You get my point. This is where forums drive me nuts, is because they'll tell you that everything sucks. So if you're a kid, PreSonus make great affordable equipment. If you're a kid starting to make music and you've only got $200 or $300, you want to start with affordable equipment. Everybody who's watching, please like and share. There's 207 people watching on YouTube. Thank you ever so much. God bless you. Would you please all like and share? That would be absolutely amazing. Please like and share. I'm seeing it going up. I'd love to get at least 200 and something likes on there, so I know you're all liking and sharing. Please like and share. I really appreciate it. It's the only thing I ask of you. I'll keep giving you free content, but please like and share. And if you haven't already, go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list. You'll get tons of free samples. You'll get extra videos. You will get pitched different things that we do, but you can always just not read the emails if you don't like. But please, like and share. Like and share. Everybody on Facebook, please like and share. You all rock. And I'll keep doing free stuff. Just like and share. That's all I ask of you. I'm seeing it's going up slowly. Come on, like and share. You can do it. All right, is that good? Oh, I'm not as good as Stephen Slate at selling. That guy is a genius. And somebody says Behringer Demonizer from the 90s. Hey, so let me tell you my Behringer story if you haven't heard it yet. So I used to work at Anderton's and Kingfisher Music. Kingfisher Music was in Fleet and Anderton's was in Guildford. I was at Kingfisher Music, and this German guy in the late 80s, early 90s turns up at the store with racks of equipment in the back of a rental car. And he showed us his oral exciter and the first kind of pieces of rack gear that he was making. That guy was Uli Behringer. That's why I like Behringer, because that guy was flying over from Germany with packing his equipment in his frickin' suitcase, hawking his wares, going to individual music stores to get people to buy his equipment, to listen to it. That's why Uli Behringer, and Behringer is a successful company. That's why they're able to buy Midas. When people talk about work ethic, that shows work ethic. So when you go on blah-de-blah forum, I'm never going to name which obvious ones these are, but when you go on them and they trash talk Behringer, remember, that guy shows tenacity, and that's the reason why so many people are making music, because they're able to buy affordable equipment. I can neither confirm or deny any forums. So the point is like, let's be supportive. It's like, if you've only got $200 and you have to get a mic pre and an I/O, built into one, and a microphone to get started, then companies like Behringer are there to help you. And that is an incredible thing. I took Glenn to Auric Wild's, Bob Marlette's, and Cameron Webb's a couple of weeks ago, and he made a video from the from the Auric Wild one, because Auric records acoustic guitars with, you guessed it, a Behringer mixer. Electric guitar, with a Behringer mixer. Why does he do that? Because he made a, Static X record? Was it Static X? And he couldn't get the same guitar sound as good as their demos. And he's like, how did you record that amazing guitar sound? And the guy came in with a 2 or 4 channel Behringer mixer, and that is how he was recording his guitars. So am I saying it's the greatest mic pre ever made? Of course it isn't. We all know that it's not a $10,000 piece of equipment. It's not a Neve console. But can it make great music? Heck yes. So anyway. So it's just fantastic. Do I turn my gear off? Yes, I do, because our electricity bills like the provingness of that. The time that even the snobs, blah, 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 picked a cheap Behringer. Oh, yeah, I saw somebody sent me a couple of months ago. Actually, it was Sound on Sound. It was a Sound on Sound shootout between mic pre's. And experts were like choosing inexpensive ones, and non-experts were choosing expensive ones. And if you look at it, go online, there is no correlation. You can pretend there's a correlation, but there's not. There's not. Because sometimes some of the cheaper gear doesn't necessarily have the transformer warmth. It can't, because you can't afford to put $300 transformers in mic pre's when the mic pre's are less than $300. Doi. You know what I mean? Go figure. So they couldn't put the $300 mic transformers in the mic pre that cost less than $300. I'm going to do my what's his name? Who's that guy with the channel? Stevie T. Doing my Stevie T. Anyway, so that's the point. You can't put $300 pieces of gear inside of $200 mic pre's. But what you can do is you can do the best you possibly can with emulations and simulations and all that kind of stuff, and the results are amazing. That's why so many great mixers mix in the box. And many of them have been doing it for years but didn't tell anybody, and now they're admitting it. Okay. But doesn't work with Waze plugins. I'm not sure what that was. I missed the question. Stevie T is awesome. Yeah, he's fantastic. How important is automation to me? Very, very important. Jason's asking me, when I record electric guitars, do I use effects in the box or not? I learned from Dave Jordan and from Jack Douglas in particular, and Don Smith. So Don Smith as a musician, Don Smith, Jack Douglas, and Dave Jordan, when I play guitar, all made me get the guitar sound that I wanted, and then we printed it. Dave Jordan, Jack Douglas, and Don Smith. Look them up. You all love their records, whether you like it or not. You'll go and go, oh. I mean, not only did Jack make John Lennon albums and produce John Lennon, he made Toys in the Attic and Rocks. And he makes you commit to guitar sounds. So I try to commit, Jason. I try to commit guitar sounds. I mix sometimes in the box. It's just when I'm working with classic rock artists like Ace Frehley, Joe Perry, when I'm working with guys like that, they expect a certain sound and they want and they need that sound. And there's something about using outboard equipment and using the SSL, which is quick and easy for me to get that sound. Does that mean I can emulate it in the box? I think I can. Go to my in the box mixing one, and you'll see what I mean. I actually think in some ways my in the box may have sounded better. However, Gavin Lurson mastered the in the box and the console one, and he preferred the console one. So there you go. A mastering engineer preferred the console one over the in the box. I preferred the in the box for its immediacy and its fullness. Somebody's saying UAD. They make great stuff. This is fantastic. Just a few more minutes on questions here. The more you like and share, the longer I will talk. How about that? How about those onions? See if we can get some more like and shares, and I'll go a little bit more. We'll ask some more questions. So there's 214 of you there on YouTube. Please like and share, those of you who haven't, and I'll keep waffling on for another 15 minutes. I haven't worked with RME. Please like and share, and I'll keep talking. Unless you don't want me to. I haven't worked with RME, but lots of my friends have and love it. Lots of people I respect like RME. So I think that's a good sign. If you've already liked, then share the video on YouTube. Share it on Google+. Please share. How is my SSL hooked up for Pro Tools? I have 48 outputs, digital outputs coming from Apogee, Lavry, and Avid IOs running into a 40 channel and going into effects. So I have all those different IOs. Somebody's asking me, do you think the console controls the dynamics and why? Yeah, I mean, thank you. I keep liking and sharing, and I'll keep talking. As long as I see those likes and shares go up, I'll keep going. People say RME. Yeah, I think RME make great stuff, even though I haven't used it. People, thank you. I am trying to take care of my health. My daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, has a cold. My wife has the cold. I have the cold, and probably my son is going to get it. Any tips on editing acoustics? Oh, I love audio production. Hey, everybody, are you Spanish speakers? I just discovered this channel. Go to audio production on Facebook. Go now. Go now. They're fantastic. If you're a Spanish speaker, they are really, really good channel. And I don't speak Spanish. Well, I know words, but I don't. It says, find it on one of the most difficult instruments to edit because if you don't do it correctly, edits. Oh, yeah. He's asking about audio editing. Are you Spanish speaking? Go and check out their channel. It's fantastic. Oh, I'm all about supporting great channels. You know, you're a channel that gives great information away. You're not one of those channels that's just trying to sell with tons of banner ads and selling like, here's a really expensive piece of equipment that I've been paid to talk about. You're not that. You're not that. We can see that as honest people here. We can tell when people give back and they're trying to help. The thing about YouTube is it's free. We can all have websites where we do stuff and we sell stuff. But here on YouTube, it's got to be honest. It's got to be free. And audio production is amazing. So yes, I agree. He's asking about acoustic guitars. Heck yeah, it's all in the performance. Editing acoustic guitars is very, very tough. What I find I do, and I try to teach Eric this, is to take whole sections and just nudge large pieces as opposed, because once you get into that area where you're cutting and pasting little pieces, it can get massively painful. You want to do as many takes as you can in time and then deal with big chunks. Don't be afraid. I would rather copy and paste 4 bars to another section than edit a take bar by bar by bar. When you do that, it can sound horrific in acoustic. And you're very correct. You've got to look at it globally. You've got to spend some time on acoustic guitars when you're editing. But if you do it really well and you do it with detail, please like and share and I'll keep going. More likes, more sharing, more I'll keep talking. I really appreciate everybody on YouTube and Facebook. You're fantastic. I'm always learning from yours. Hector, I love what you do, Hector. Let's do a collaboration. Please email me at warren@producelikeapro and let's collaborate. I'd love to do some stuff with you. Can you please do some more metal mixing tutorials? I do, and I also do those paid courses. We just did one with Bob Marlette, which is amazing. We have Cameron Webb doing Motorhead. We have Auric Wild doing Galacticon. We have so many rock courses, but they are on Pro Mix Academy. But if you go onto YouTube, tomorrow we're putting up a Bob Marlette mixing one. Please like and share, and I'll keep talking. Is that going to be my new catchphrase? Please like and share and I'll keep talking. Don't like and share and he'll stop. Warren, you're the best and most so humble. Well, thank you. You know why? It's just because I'm just like you guys. I'm just another person trying. We'll get rid of roomy vocals. Use an expander. Use an expander. Look at expanders. You get tight. Gates, not quite so well, but expanders will do what you're looking for. If not, you've got to get in there and do some super automation, and that's another thing can help. What's your favorite pair of overheads aside from maybe Coles or Neumann's? Depends on the budget. You can't find the paid. It's Audio Production. Hey, Audio Production, when you do me a favor, I'm also simultaneously live on Produce Like a Pro on Facebook. Leave a comment on there. I believe it's spelt, I'm doing this on Audio. It's with 2 C's, I-O-N. So in Spanish, like audio production, but in Spanish. Del Toro. Check it out. Great channel. I'd love to do some collaboration stuff with you. I think you guys are fantastic. All right, I'm going to do a few more questions. I promised I would go like another 5 or 10 minutes after this. Let's have a look. I have a pair of cheap overheads. They sound very harsh. The highs, Samson C2, but I'm not sure if it's the cymbals or the placement. Phase is good though. Probably, thank you for liking and sharing. It's probably, when they're cheaper mics, it probably is the mics. There's certain cymbals like Sabians I find incredibly, I find incredibly harsh. I find some cymbals incredibly harsh, but ultimately, I just find cymbals incredibly bright, but Sabian cymbals. But obviously, it depends on the room. Sometimes the Sabians sound amazing in darker rooms. Zildjians, older Zildjians, which I have a few of, are dark and tend... thanks for subbing to me on Instagram. Oh, yeah, I have an Instagram as well, so please go there. So obviously, some of the Sabian cymbals are amazing in dark rooms, and some of the darker Zildjians are really good in bright rooms. Ultimately, and I know, like Zach was saying, talking about gear and objectivity and subjectivity, all this balance. It's like when you have a lot of different equipment or you have an understanding of equipment, you can choose the best tool for the job. Sabians tend to be a little brighter. In my room, they're too bright. In a darker room, they're fantastic. In a super bright room, I bring vintage Zildjians, which are a little darker. So I know that that is not a good answer for somebody that's only got one set of cymbals, but it's an honest answer. Now with your microphones, it's tough for overheads. I wouldn't skimp on overheads. Microphones, they wouldn't be my cheapest mics, put it that way. Hello, mate. Getting questions. Any suggestions for slowing down the video watching and actually using all of the gear I've already purchased? Yeah, I hear you. Do you use Ableton for anything? Not personally. For a few years, I used to use it when it was a standalone program when I could just sit there and manipulate samples, and it was amazing. Watch our Chris Lake videos. Go watch the Chris Lake videos. They're absolutely incredible. He's really amazing. Okay, cheap microphones tend to sound harsh. A lot of them do, not all of them, but what's the pros and cons of recording through EQ in the box? Does it get the same abuse? I'm a weird one with this. I think that I try to do everything on the front end, and if I'm mixing, I'm mixing. I don't know if I personally would record through EQ as a plugin. Personally, I don't know if I would do that. So it's like really kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know what I mean? I would say as Ableton 10 beta user, it's amazing. I can believe it too. Yeah, I mean, Vintech make affordable, great mic pre's. Am I a Dodgers fan? I'm English. I live in Los Angeles. There is a Dodgers fan in the room. Nope, he didn't say anything, so I suppose Eric has turned on the Dodgers. He's no longer a fan. I said there's a Dodgers fan in the room, and he didn't say anything.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, he goes, I missed it.
I'm still hurt. That's all.
He's hurt. Eric's a Dodgers fan. Please like and share. I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to call Michael Stucker up. Michael Stucker and I have been designing equipment. You're from Berkshire and you're... well, wonderful. Look, everybody, you have been amazing. I've been Warren. You've been the audience. We're on YouTube, simultaneously broadcasting on Produce Like a Pro on Facebook. This has been freaking awesome. Please like and share. Please, after I sign off on YouTube, carry on leaving comments because they don't preserve the comments. I don't know why. Carry on leaving comments, and later on I'll get to your comments. So I'm going to sign off now. Please, please, please leave the comments. And I don't know how to sign off. Nope. Just click the mic, flicked it around. Yes, I'm stopping the streaming. Thank you ever so much. Please carry on leaving comments. Go and leave tons. I'm going to answer them later. Please do it. You all rock. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye, YouTube. You rock.